Welcome back to another episode of the Shortsighted podcast. Today we're talking to Simon, who is a parent to two children. One of them is now 10 years old. He helped his son, reverse his minus 2.75 diopter myopia all the way back to not needing glasses. And this whole process appears to have helped to prevent his 6-year-old from ever needing glasses. It's an interesting story. My audio levels, unfortunately, are not perfect because I'm always messing with stuff here. But I think if you're a parent, there's a fair bit to be gained from Simon's realistic perspective. He's not overpromising, and he is pretty clearly describing some of the things he had to go through to help his son. I hope you enjoy this episode.
The whole thing started with my son who has the issue. So the reason he started having myopia is because he would hide books in his room and read them when he was like 5 or 6, and we didn't know about this. So we just realized his eyes was getting worse and worse, and my parents was really concerned because. Go ahead, sorry.
How high did his myopia go?
We started looking into it 3 years ago, into how to correct this was 3 years ago. So at that point, he was 1.75 for both eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So we just my wife was searching and she found out about your program. At the time, since his eyes was just 1.75, we were concerned, but we weren't that concerned. So I just looking into the theory, the idea of eyes is not because before I was under the impression your eyes, once it gets bad, it never gets better.
Right.
But
right.
After looking through your program, it seems like the eye is more like a muscle that you can exercise and kind of reshape it.
Yeah, it adjusts certainly. Is this the older one or the younger one?
The older one. The younger one, we are keep close eye on him, so he has no problem. So
that's good. The
whole notion of it's it can be inherited. I don't know, because our young kid is fine because he doesn't have the habit of his brother. My older son likes to read a lot.
Yeah.
He's very quiet. He likes to sit there and do things by himself. My younger son is more hyperactive, so he runs around a lot.
So give me the short version again. So he's 10, right?
At that point he was I think 8 or 9 or wait. Yeah, so 7 or 8. So he was 1.75. So at that time we find out about your program, and I started doing your recommendation, which is get a differential pair of glasses for work.
Yeah.
And after half a year doing that, my vision actually improved. So I really was brought, I'll become a real believer of this theory. The idea you can improve your eyes by not using the full spectrum of the glass.
Right.
Make your.
And you got your son back to, what is he at now? He's still
So at that point it's 1.75, but we didn't do a rigorous curriculum. So a year later, his vision actually got worse. So his vision got to 2.75.
Oh, yeah.
So that was, yeah. So that's exactly last year. So then we subscribed to your program, and I started reading more. You have the lessons for adults and the subsection for kids. So I started reading about it, and we start have a very like a daily schedule where we do active focus like 3 times a day, and we like really control what he does as far as like screen times and whether or not he hides books. So we constantly check to see he's not doing that, and that really helped. So at this point, he's not wearing glasses at all.
Hmm.
And when the lights is well, a lot of things, just like what you said, is like depends on a lot of your environment. So we do test his eyesight at the optimum condition. He's able to see like 20 23 20 20 30 20 25
Hmm.
without glasses.
Nice.
But it's like it has to be pretty like sunny middle of the afternoon, then you
Sure.
can
Yeah.
see that. Yeah.
That's good. And that took how long? How long did you say? About
uh about a year.
about a year.
And so like I would say the rigorous active focus period probably like 6 months, and during which like there's like 2 or 3 months he actually his mom took him back to China, so I wasn't able to like able to do that rigorously when we were back in China. But
Does
now
he miss
like
does he miss glasses at all? Does he complain? Did he like wearing them?
um glasses?
Yeah.
No, he no, I don't think kids like glasses because he forgets about them. Like once his vision start getting better, he just like he stopped he stopped like realizing where he put his glasses, because
Uh,
now we have this plus vision glass. He make him use it and he constantly forget where it is, and
that's
he
funny.
has to look for it.
That's
But he towards the end of it, when he has to use his eyes without glasses more, when we go out, like go riding or go outside or something, he would say, "Can I wear my glasses?" Because
uh,
yeah, at that point he uses glasses to see further. But
what how many diopters are those?
excuse me.
What how many diopters are the glasses he uses now for that?
Uh, he doesn't. He does now. He doesn't really use any when he goes out. He just we just trying to get him to like active focus when he's go outside and just like try to see further more clearly.
Yeah.
Uh, but when he's like inside indoors, when he's reading, we try to make him use his reading glasses to make like plus 0.25 for both eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could even go higher with that slowly.
Yeah,
Sneak them
but
in
he
there. You know, after
what
like 3 or 4 months of those, like if you go to a plus half diopter, but don't tell him about it, make sure he maintains the same distance.
yeah.
Because
Wait,
ultimately, at some point, you could go as high as +1. Um, not in a hurry, just like it's a nice preventative measure, especially for
measure.
kids. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you notice how quickly he recovered, right? Like
Yeah,
adults tend to take a little bit longer, but so higher plus tends to be
yeah.
more better for prevention, but just not in a rush. You know what I mean? Like if you
Yeah.
3 or 4 months, maybe you add another quarter diopter of plus, make sure that he gets used to it, that he doesn't mind. You know,
Okay.
ultimately that's fine. But I mean, it's awesome already. If you can see 2025 in good daylight, that's great.
Yeah, but I think his now like the difference between his eyes is getting a little bit greater. So we are like trying to make sure he sees things straight. Like he would like he's one I think his left eye is a little bit worse than his right eye. So he tend to look at the something that's appeared differently to both eyes, and he would tilt his head towards the left.
Yeah.
So try to correct him on that.
Yeah, I understand. Well, and what about yourself? Like, are you still working on it, or are you just focused on the kid?
I mean, I would say I work on it passively because now I don't wear like the full. I just probably wear like differential around the house, or sometimes doesn't wear glasses at all because I think my right eye is, but my left eye is substantially better than my right eye. So I can I can read screens fine with my left eye almost at this point. But my right eye still need to wear glasses. But
Yeah,
sometimes I just like too lazy to put one on and just walk around.
that's fine.
Because I guess once you get used to the blur, it you start realizing if you can active focus, like sometimes you can see things clearly. It just depends how much effort you put into it.
True. That's true.
Yeah.
And how was the process with him? Was it easy to make those reductions? Was he cooperative? Active focus, easy to find, all that?
I have to say, like, the two things, if anybody get anything from my experience, like first you have to believe the theory a lot because it is a lot of back and forth. And a lot of time you question yourself, but sometimes you investigate. Sometimes like one time during the past years, there's a couple periods where his vision like got worse and I didn't really change routine or anything. But later on when I find out, like I go through his room, I find out he was like hiding maps inside his room and he like look at it. then you realize, oh, okay. So I guess you keep a routine and constantly check on his vision. It kind of help you eliminate things that kids do.
Yeah. But otherwise, like, was he okay with making reductions?
Yeah, he's happy that his vision got better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
What about the optometrist? Has he ever been back there? Do you take him to the places?
I mean we haven't for a while because well right now obviously because the COVID we haven't even seen a doctor since like the beginning of the year. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
yeah, so like
You know, that's the other thing really, like, especially in the program, I always tell people you need adult myope in the family. So the back and forth is much less when you as the parent already had the experience, right? When you know it works, it's much easier to work with the child.
right.
Like I don't do children only because it's too difficult and confusing for a parent to interpret what the child is experiencing. You know, like it's a child plus third-hand experience, and then you're like, I don't really know if this works. I'm just guessing. That's why I always recommend that parents do it first, right? So you improve your eyesight, and then you know what works and how it works. Luckily, in your case, it worked out fine anyway. It's just a little comment.
Yeah.
For others who might listen and go, I'm just gonna put this on my kid, right? And can end up being much more difficult than if you know absolutely firsthand.
Right. I mean that's almost with everything that you try to teach your kid. Unless you experience yourself, it's very difficult to try to teach him and like math or anything.
Yeah, that's true. I keep forgetting you look much younger than 40 something.
Oh yeah. It's probably my demeanor, I think.
Maybe the gaming headset, right? Chilling.
Probably.
Where are you guys located? Can I ask?
Oh, we live in the States, the US.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so right now with COVID, it's getting really bad in States. So we don't, and I work from home, so is my wife. So we homeschool our kids. So a lot of things that really helps because you control a lot of outside influence, because in school they use a lot of screens, uh, and you can't really control distance when they're in school. And one thing I realized is that my kid, when you do active focus a lot, like you do that 3 times a day, he during his daily routine he will have this habit, like when he can't see clearly he would try, and we remind him like to use active focus, and that's kind of like exercise. When you use that muscle a lot and at that position, it just turns get toward
Yeah.
go towards that position and improves it.
From 2.7 minus 2.75, that's really a very nice recovery. I get a lot of people asking to have more parents talk about this, because so far we haven't had at all any conversations about child myopia in this format. And I get a lot of parents in general asking, what do I do about my kids? Because like what you said, a lot of people don't care about themselves, but then all of a sudden the kids get bad eyesight, and it gets worse like that relatively quickly, and people get worried.
Yeah, I would say like my my friends around me, like they ask me about it. I do recommend them to read and like go to your website and try to figure out themselves before I like recommend anything substantial or like concrete to do it, because I think it's a process. When you do it, you do hit the high points and you feel great, but there's always setbacks. And I think the important thing is how you come back from the setbacks. And you have to realize it's just a setback and a bump in the road, and you just move forward. It makes you, it really works. And it, it if you really understand, it really, eyes is just like a muscle, and just like any muscle, it will work great one day, and next day, you know, you might get a cramp.
Yeah. Yeah, or hiding maps and books in the room and reading them.
Yeah, and it's just like kids being kid, and you have to, it's sometimes eyesight is not just eyesight, it's about kids' habits and how much he likes to play video games or stuff like that. It's all related. So
Yeah. And the younger one, nothing, huh?
yeah, because we do we do homeschool, and he always see his brother has a bad eyesight, and he's like he actually very proud of the fact that he has the best eyesight at his house, at our house. So whenever we watch TV or like do anything, he will purposely sit the furthest away from the television to show off how good his eyesight is. He
That's
does
awesome.
that a lot.
That's awesome. It's
Yeah, he has a sense of pride for that.
That's good. That'll go a long way, because it really
Yeah,
is. It's not that complicated, right? And especially with kids, for whatever reason, they tend to recover faster, and they tend to be more engaged if you can get them into the process, right? They're generally a lot more easy to work with than adults, right? Like we're too
um,
set in our ways. We don't care. Not
right.
always, but generally.
I mean, kids is easier to get them to do it, but like sometimes it's just they do have setbacks. I mean, you talk about like there's major improvements, and there are days where you have major setbacks, and you just feel like sometimes I just want to bang my head against the wall. Like, what happened? I do this for a month, 3 times a day even,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden like it stopped working. But you just have to realize it's just, you know, like I subscribe to your program. One like things I felt more important to me than anything else is the fact that somebody else can give you confidence that says, "Oh, what you're seeing is is um is not something so out of norm. It's something that would generally happen, and you will get better." That confidence really helped me just like keep on going. Just sometimes you need that more than anything else.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Back when I started, and there was no it was just my theory, right? Like back in the day, I could
Yeah,
really use that once in a while because there was plenty of times where it was just like, what am I doing?
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trust me, I think like once you go through that, like a lot of other stuff in your life, you start getting more confident about.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. So yeah, and other parents, I'm working now. I'm trying to improve some of the resources because I still think it's not that easy to get into. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
when you say I send friends to the website, I cringe inside a little tiny bit because I know it's not. It's like one of those things. If you're really motivated and you want to figure it out, then you can. But it's not the most easy to use and the most inviting thing ever in the
R-
world.
Right. Yeah, but I think they have to understand the theory first, and I really don't want to push them for it. Like, in fact, when I was in China, there's a lot of kids who has these issues, and I met a lot of parents who went to clinic who promise that they can do what you do, like replicate. And so their method is similar because they make the kids active focus at that moment with like different eye charts or whatever.
Hmm.
And like like we like like when you active focus, you do eyesight just suddenly improve for a moment, right?
Yeah.
And they do see that, but then I guess they don't know you have to constantly like keep at it, and the fact that kids' improvement can go forward a lot and go back quite a bit too, so they get frustrated and they think, and with that frustration carries on to like whether or not they believe in the theory ever again.
Right.
So I don't I don't want to like high sell them, be like, oh, this is easy, you can definitely do it, anybody can do it. Then they hit a roadblock and they're like, you're just a liar.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
nothing
And
you
plus,
say.
and either way, then you become it's like the guy in the family who knows how to fix computers. Okay. And all of a sudden,
Yeah,
everybody comes to you and their phone doesn't unlock, right? Like, you don't want to become the therapist for everybody's kid's eyesight when they start calling you going, what happened? Right.
yeah. And plus it's different for every kids, because I think a lot of it for us, it made it easier because we homeschool our kids. So they don't go to school and they don't have temptation of video games. They don't have temptation of iPad. I don't know, like, do you live in Asia or?
I do. I do. I
Okay,
not in one single place, but generally in Asia. But the thing
okay.
is, my kids are right now being raised in a jungle where nobody has screens in general. So I'm hiding them
Oh, okay.
away from that whole world of
R- Right. So my kids is in the same way. They don't go to school. So in the States, they gave you, like, literally in classroom, you get iPads and you
oh,
get
really?
computers. And my son did went to like kindergarten. So when I was, sometimes they asked parents to volunteer, and I went there, and kids would just play video games on the computer. So, so like there's that, and I, I, it just makes I guess makes the things more difficult. So if you cannot, it really helps if you can control all aspects of your kid's life. That helps improve the eyesight, I would say, too. But
Yeah.
just imagine if with that kind of control that I have, and I still hit frustrations. Imagine a parent who sends kids to a school and have all those obstacles and try to improve their eyesight on top of that. That they're gonna hit a lot of frustrations, and it will be very difficult for me even to give advice on how to deal with it, because then you just have to change a lot of lot of like your perception of how to raise a kid and everything. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
gets to too many elements
Yeah,
of
that's true.
somebody's life.
Because yeah, and I get into that a lot too with parents. Is like where parents are now using iPads as a substitute for babysitting, basically.
Right. So I would, well, a year ago, before COVID, we can go to restaurants. You can see kids like parents just like give them an iPad or a phone and they just sit there and it doesn't bother them, but they don't realize that actually is not really helping eyesight as far as like eyesight
Yeah,
and
and who
and
knows what
also
other part of the child's development gets messed up
yeah
with that? I
yeah
don't really know, but it's a really in my house it's not allowed. Like kids get to watch movies on screens, but the distance is fixed, right? And one of the
yeah
first words the boy learned was scooch back. Like he could barely speak, but he already knew you're too close. He was still
yeah
really little, and he would just slide back, right? It was really funny that that was one of his first experiences because I'm pretty adamant about that. An hour or two a day, watch some movies is fine, but
yeah
not, the distance is really a big deal too.
yeah I Yeah, that's I guess I understand your points about adults because we are fixating our habits and sometimes it's not even like you have a lot of work and you actually have to look at screen at that distance. But again, at that point your muscle is no longer as flexible as kids, so maybe we have an excuse on that point.
It's
But
a priority question for you because you can
yeah,
reverse the myopia you have now. Like if you make a couple of nice targeted interventions, the right reductions,
right.
in a year you can go down almost a diopter, right?
Yeah,
But it's just a
I
question of what would you use it for. So I totally understand when people go, well, it's interesting, but I'm fine, right? Like I'm not really arguing against that because if you don't have an immediate use for it, then maybe it's not that big of a priority.
yeah, I mean I experienced myself like how much you can reduce it, and it's just a matter like how much. Well, what I do also realize like the fact that you see blur, maybe it's a way your eyes telling you I'm really tired. I
Yes,
really
yes.
don't want to work this hard, so just give me a break. So maybe you should just let yourself go blur a day or two, and maybe
Yeah. And also like the lens wear, right? Like you don't want to go
yeah,
too low with lenses because then if the challenge is too great, your eyes will just give up and you just get blur.
yeah,
If you have a little bit of challenge, it's much easier to maintain that as a habit.
yeah. It's definitely about like building a habit, have a lifestyle that's more focused on improve your eyesight.
Yeah. And as we get older, I mean, you and I are both still in our 20s and stuff, but there's various eye conditions that we can hopefully avoid by not having myopia or very low myopia. It's a
Yeah,
nice
that's true.
preventative measure also for
Yeah.
if we ever get older.
Well, I don't know about you. I definitely feel older. Yeah, once it's I think for me it's like at the end of the marathon, you just want to make sure he gets to 2020. Just maintain that because he I mean right now I guess like the focus is more on homeschooling and plus the fact that you can't really go anywhere. So
Yeah,
that
that's
really
true.
put our focus on his eyesight more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good. I hope that this is a little bit encouraging for parents, right? Like I
Yeah.
appreciate that you're sharing this because that's, I mean, you basically went from minus 2.75 to doesn't need glasses in a year, right? And ups and downs included and homeschooling advantage included, you made it happen. So it's not impossible with the right focus.
Right. Yeah. But I don't want people to go away with the idea that it's going to be it's all, s- rainbows and unicorns. It's really easy. It, it it's
Yeah.
it just you have to have a mindset. It's doable. It's definitely something you can do. It's just it's not as easy as like eating a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So
Imagine that. Imagine
yeah,
that something with kids is not easy.
yeah,
When does
yeah,
that ever happen?
yeah. I that's why I people ask me like for advice because you can only give them a general advice. I mean, it works if you have everything set up correctly, but if you don't, you really have to uh, you really have to figure out what's wrong with it. It's like a because I used to be a computer programmer. It's like debugging. When you write the piece of code, it works fine when it's fine, but when it stops working, you have to go through every line and try to figure out which one is the one that causing the problem.
Right, right. And that I think
Yeah,
also that's really helpful, by the way. There's certain groups of people I work with who figure this stuff out much more easily than others. And
yeah,
people who have a fundamental understanding of troubleshooting usually do a lot better. Because instead of just getting emotional, right? You can't look at computer code and be like, it doesn't work, I hate you. You just have to go line by line, figure out where the problem is.
yeah,
This is the same thing, right? Like our eyes are all the same. Unless there's something totally broken, the premise is the same. So if something's not working, it's always a troubleshooting question, right? Like you find maps under his bed might be the bug, right? Like, but it's always something aside from sometimes vision is just worse a few days or a week or two than others. But
yeah.
usually
So
people get stuck on the troubleshooting part.
yeah, and it's definitely something that nobody else can help you with. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's something you have to investigate and you have to figure out which part of your life or your kid's life is really causing the setback, and you
Yeah.
have to take it out.
Yeah. I do make a bunch of troubleshooting videos. For those
Yeah,
who listen who don't know, there's a whole playlist in our YouTube channel for troubleshooting because there are kind of common failure points that people run into that they don't realize they're doing. So I try to catalog those, but there's always another thing. In the end, you
yeah,
do have to do it yourself and figure it out. Like I would not have been able to say, look for maps under his bed because I wouldn't have guessed that.
yeah. So you have to know your kids pretty well too. So that that's another aspect of it, I guess. So that's why it's yeah. So difficult for me, unlike you who like do this as a living and have a career, who actually help
Don't,
people do this.
but I don't.
Yeah, for me, if I really get involved, it's hard for me to guarantee anything because then I have to get personally involved, which I'd rather not do.
Yeah,
So
I totally understand that, and
yeah,
it is one of those things. You're totally right. Like you have to put in the effort to understand all of this stuff,
yeah,
right? It's an investment of your time and understanding because unfortunately there is no substitute other than just wearing glasses, which for kids is not a good idea.
yeah,
Right? Like the increase is so fast. If you would have waited another year, it would have been 3.75. Like it just goes up a diopter a year. Not in
yeah.
every case, but very commonly, you know?
I mean, we do see our friends whose kids who do get glasses. It gets worse, like almost on a yearly basis, but I guess part of it is like the herd mentality. Since everybody is getting worse, if my kid gets worse, it's not really a problem.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
there's that complacency sometimes. But
yeah.
if you really if you really like start looking into it, you will realize is as far as historically, it's not a good trend. So
No, no,
yeah,
it's not a good
just
trend.
so
And it does other things to kids too, right? It makes them more insecure. They won't play certain sports. They won't partake in certain activities.
right,
Their
right,
fine motor control doesn't develop the same because they don't have peripheral vision.
yeah,
Anxiety levels appear to be higher, again, because they're not seeing the full peripheral field properly. There's all kinds of developmental things that I'm really concerned when you let kids develop like this with glasses. You know, that is,
Yeah.
it's just worth investing the time to not leave a child in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. So
And you're a good parent for figuring that out.
thank thank you. We tried. So
Yeah.
in
You dealt with all that.
parenting.
And it's not that easy. Like, and I do have to say that you are a good parent, because there's lots of parents who may not have the level of care and ambition to get this sorted out.
Yeah, I have to say, like, in a way, we're lucky that we have time to help our kids because we get to work from home. So that's definitely an advantage. But yeah, so uh, I I just say like if you really have the time and the will, then you can definitely do it. But it definitely requires both time and definitely like a will to do this. So
I like it. That's a good. I think we can leave it at that, because I like the both parts thing, right? Like, it's doable, but it's not easy. We're not setting expectation that it's going to be the piece of cake.
yeah, exactly.
All right, so that was Simon. I hope you found this useful. I hope if you're a parent, you're doing things to help your child. Myopia is entirely preventable, reversible. As adults, many of us don't care that much, but when it comes to our children, we really want to invest the time to give them the best possible shot at the best possible life. I'll try to do more parents episode. I have tons of parents that partake in Endmyopia and that provide feedback. Just getting people on the podcast, of course, is always a little bit of a challenge. Subscribe in your favorite app, and I will talk to you in the next one.
Meow, 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 meow.